If the Bible talks about success, and it does, then how else are we supposed to measure it except by comparison? Psalm 1 says, whatever he does prospers. Colossians 3:23 tells us, work hard at whatever you do as though you're working for the Lord. It sounds to me like success matters. Do well, be fruitful, run the race, right? It's all there. And yet Galatians 6:4-5 says, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Pay careful attention to your own work. Romans 12:2 adds, don't copy the behaviors and the patterns and the customs of this world. So, which is it? Do we aim high or do we stay humble? Do we push forward or do we slow down? If success is good, why does comparison feel so wrong? Maybe the problem isn't success itself. Maybe it's who we're using as the yardstick, what we're trying to measure. Because when we start measuring what matters most against other people's lives, we'll always come up short. And that's when joy quietly slips away and is stolen from us. My name is Neil O'Boyle, and you're listening to Waypoint, where we explore how to find our way and live with purpose. So I've done it and you've done it. You look at someone else's church, their ministry, their family, their life, and you start thinking they're doing better. And suddenly something good feels like not enough. It's sneaky, this comparison thing, it's pushing us. It doesn't just make us jealous, it quietly makes us forget who we are. And we're now wanting to be something we're not necessarily made for. The problem with comparison is that it redefines success without us noticing. Instead of asking, am I doing what God's called me to do, living in my calling, we start asking, am I doing as well as them? They look better. How can I find the success that they've got? Even the disciples did it, didn't he? Peter literally looked at Jesus and said, what about him? Pointing at John, and Jesus basically replied, well, don't worry about him. You follow me. That's John 21:22. It's almost as if Jesus knew that comparison would distract us from calling. And he's still saying it now. Don't worry about them. Follow me. Don't look to others. Don't see what they're doing. Don't measure yourself against what's happening over there. A few years ago, Craig Rochelle, pastor of Life Church, said something that stuck with me. The fastest way to kill something special is to compare it to something else. When his church started growing, he found himself constantly looking sideways. Other churches, the numbers, the creativity, the momentum. And somewhere in the middle of ministry, he realized he was chasing approval, not obedience. And that's key, by the way. That's when he stopped asking, are we doing as well as them? And he started asking a different question. Are we doing what God asked us to do in the first place? And that really is important. That's the difference between striving and following, between noise and peace. And if you remember Simone Biles at the Tokyo Olympics, the most decorated gymnast in the world, everyone expected her to dominate it. But halfway through, she withdrew to protect her mental health. And the world was shocked. Some called her weak. Others called her selfish. But she later said, I'm more than my medals. Wow. That line really, really hit me, because you don't have to be an Olympian to get it. You just have to be human, someone trying to live up to expectations that never end. And that is too much. That's a hamster wheel. Simone stopped comparing her worth to performance, and in that moment, she became freer than any gold medal could possibly make her. It's not a sermon quote, it's just true. You don't have to be a Christian to see that comparison crushes and destroys. And just like John 10:10, the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And that is what comparison can do. Bringing it closer to home, maybe you're a parent looking at another family's Christmas photo, the one where everyone's in it, right, in their matching pajamas, smiling, no sign of chaos. I mean, who does that? Meanwhile, your photo has one crying toddler and a dog mid-jump, and everything's chaotic, totally the opposite to the picture that you're comparing against. Or maybe you're a youth leader who left a night feeling great until you saw another group's glossy highlight reel, and suddenly your night feels small. They had a smoke machine, for goodness sake. Nothing changed except your focus. Comparison doesn't change reality. It changes gratitude. It's identity theft, stealing joy from moments that were perfectly good until you happen to measure them. Yesterday, I packed up my office after 10 years of leading Youth for Christ, and as I closed the door behind me one last time, I recalled what a leader had said to me before taking on the role. You will make a terrible national director for Youth for Christ. And those words haunted me over the years, and I've gone back to them. And I had followed on from some very successful national directors who had led so well and taken the organization on in leaps and bounds, and the comparison trap often had their successes in the back of my mind, alongside that prophetic voice of doom about being a bad director. And as I walked away from the building the final time, my question was more, Lord, was I faithful with what you asked me to do? Did I please you? Did I get that which you asked me to do right? Because ultimately, we live to please the one who called us first and foremost. See, Paul says in Galatians 6, 4 and 5, pay careful attention to your own work. Then you'll have the satisfaction of a job well done without comparing yourself to anyone else. And in 2 Corinthians 10:12, it says they measure themselves by one another and compare themselves with one another, and they are not wise. He's not saying success is wrong. He's saying it's personal. Faithfulness looks different for each of us, doesn't it? And there's a task for each of us to carry. Maybe today's question isn't, am I as good as them? But am I being faithful with what's in my hands, with what God has asked me and given me to do? Because Jesus never asked you to outshine anyone, only to follow him. And comparison steals joy. Grace restores it. So maybe today, instead of measuring where you are, just thank God that he's still working in you, that your story's not finished yet, that he's got more for you. God never asked you to be someone else's version of faithful, just yours. And that's difficult for us to grasp, but it's nevertheless true. Next time on Waypoint, we'll talk about the voices that shape us, the critics, the crowds, and the whispers, what truth looks like in that. And that's the voice within that we'll be exploring. Until then, keep learning the ways and living with purpose.